Hello, Professor Henry. So this will be a resubmission for Project 4. Um, I'm just going to go over kind of some of the ones that I kind of need some points on that I fixed here. So the first one is options and high scores persist between sessions, player preference. Remember to how I'll explain this works. So if I click play here, as you can see, I have a current score and then a high score. If I destroy this tank, as long as it doesn't avoid me, as you can see, my current score went to 2, and then my high score went to 2. Now if I exit out of this and go back in, as you can see, my current score is now back at 0, and then I can press 2, or not press 2, but my high score is 2 now. Now if I destroy another tank with a higher point value, if I can destroy it, that is, without it jumping around everywhere. As you can see, my score went from 9 to 9. Now if I go back into it, my new high score is 9. To showcase this, I have a score script here where I have it set. Here I have a score value, which is current score, the high score, and then the text for it, which is score and high score, that will showcase on screen. And then in my start functionality, I have it set through player preference, where it will get the high score.text, which is in the UI, equals player preference dot get int high score to string. So whatever the new high score is, it will then set it in the UI text and change it, update it, etc. Or when I start the game, whatever it was last game, it will still stay the same unless I delete it or change it, etc. Then I have a public function here called score all. With my current score text, it will set it to a string. So it'll be 0 unless it gets updated by destroying a enemy tank. I have it set in a if statement here, where it will check to see if the score value is greater than high score. If so, set new high score. It will only change if it is higher than the current high score. If it's not, it will not do anything to the high score. It will still stay the same, based on my less state or less. I am spacing that word right now. Greater or less. And then it will set the player preference set int high score based on that new score value. And then it will set the text of that new high score to string. And then I have a add score functionality here, where we'll add the score values up. And then once it gets past that score value, or once that score value gets past the high score, it will then reset that high score to that new value. And then I just have a reset here, to where if the player presses the Z key, it will delete that high score and reset it to 0. So that is what I wanted to showcase to you for the options and high scores persist between game sessions. The next one is the game manager. I know a lot of it's going to be similar with my last submission, but it is a singleton here in my game settings. I do have it set to a singleton here, to where if there's any another game manager script, it will delete it, because there can only be one. In terms of my tank data, stuff like that, components, it's not there, or my power-ups. I do have a list of player and list of enemies up here in a list, to where if I wanted to store them in there, I can. I've started to do the states for the game manager as well, but they're not fully there. So there's that. My comments, as you can see in my score script here, I have comments explaining what each of these do. This is the current score, high score, the text. the game manager, have a list of players, multiple tanks, the enums of the states. Trying to think of what else. Music and stuff like that. Start screen. Game music play. So I'll go ahead and showcase like my settings to kind of showcase more comments. Like my audio mixers here, lets me set the game audio value, lets me set the music audio value, a quick game application. Player lives, I will also kind of showcase to you real quick. So I have a player lives function up here, and int value to where I can set how many lives I want. And then down below I have, if players null, lose lives, respawn. This will subtract a life. This will create the player at a random spawn point. If player is at 0 health, it's game over. So, once the player, however many lives I set it to, once it reaches that 0, it will then initiate that game over scene. So those are, some comments. I do have more comments in here that I can showcase, like all my state manager script here. I have, comments explaining, gets the target position, the function allows enemy to chase the player, stuff like that. My landmine, if it connects to the player tag, it will react. When it goes off, play the sound, gets the player tank's health component and deals damage, the damage it deals to the player, stuff like that for comments, just to kind of showcase those more. Game exceeds minimum requirements. So in this I did set a pause menu that the player can press the P key. It can then pause the game. You can adjust the game volume or the music volume, or you can press the resume key and it'll resume it. I also did the with the current score and stuff like that, you can press the Z key. It will then reset the high score value. So those are just kind of some of the requirements that I did that may exceed or may not for you, but you'll let me know. And then I noticed like the code logic and structure. I didn't know if I had to put that, but I'm gonna do it kind of. I'm sure you can tell based off of me explaining this. But I explained what the pause menu, or not the pause menu, but the score. How I can get each of the scores and preset values. The landmine, if it connects the player tag, it will react. It will play this sound when it reacts with the tag. If it gets the, if the player tag, or if the tank has the player tag and it has this component, it will deal damage. If it had the player tag but not this component on it, it wouldn't deal damage. It would just, be destroyed. But that's kind of all I wanted to showcase to you for this resubmission for Project 4.